What do you guys think about Max Payne 3? Leave your comments down below, I'd love to know and for you to stick around to hear my side.
The way I see it, there's two types of people. Those who spend their lives trying to build a future, and those who spend their lives trying to rebuild the past.
And then there's those stuck right in between. That sums up Max Payne 3 pretty well. A game designed for the future, but unable to let go of the past. Watch the whole video for maximum enjoyment, but there will be timestamps down below. Welcome to Classic Game Reviews, where we go back in time and look at the games of the past. And today's game is Max Payne 3. Act 1, Chapters 1 to 5. Max Payne 3 opens with a montage of all the areas we'll be visiting throughout the game with the haunting musical score from Health, and sets the tone perfectly. We're introduced to all the important characters.
I see Rodrigo over there talking to that guy.
He's some kind of cop. I'm not sure. Look at Marcel. Still dances like a fool.
Guess that's what a European education and a coke habit will do for Ricky Martin look-alike. Fabiana. She was hot and wanted to be dangerous. Their Victor had just walked in. He was a local politician.
All of which have a part to play, and then we get our first section of gameplay, and it's glorious. A tutorial for bullet time, clear direction in gameplay style, and a clear obsession with gore. Beautiful stuff, and it only gets better. Max successfully fights off the kidnappers, and we go on to chapter 2. This chapter ups the ante and sets the bar for future chapters to beat. Max is drinking as usual, and the family gets attacked again, but this time, well, let me just show you. You go from running through a nightclub to jumping on a helicopter to hanging off that helicopter, shooting a rocket that's just been fired, and you lose Fabiana. What a mission. It's one of my favourites because of the pacing never letting you go. You're constantly pushing forward with the bare minimum of cinematics, stopping gameplay. I'll go more in depth with the gameplay in just a minute, so stick around. Chapter 3, Money, Bullets, and Blood. That's this chapter. It's more of the same without changing much this time around. It's probably my least favourite chapter because its overall pacing is all over the place. One minute you're running for dear life, and then the next you're slow walking while being shot at by a sniper. The chapter doesn't really work for me, but the gameplay when being utilised is great fun, like always. Chapter 4 is great. It's our first flashback to Max before Passos, and I loved every second of it. It's well paced, extremely fun, and has some great scripted moment. And finally, Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is conflicted for me. It tried to have a stealth section at the start but failed tremendously as it just forces you into more shootouts, but at the same time does Max Payne 3 really need a forced stealth section? I don't think so, but it could have added some variety to the gameplay. So Act 1 overall is great. It sets the tone and direction of the story and has some really great chapters while being held back by Chapter 3, but that's just my personal taste. The gameplay is exhilarating and requires pinpoint position, which could be an issue for console gamers, but I played on PC and it made the game much more rewarding. Animations are fluid thanks to Rockstar's physics engine, and it really is a sight to behold watching your enemies drop to the ground after getting 6 perfect headshots. Voice acting is top notch, and Max's voice actor is superb in the role, which is why it's weird Rockstar originally wanted to recast him, which still makes no sense to me. Side characters like Passos are brilliant as well, and provide some great comic relief.
I had to admit, I kinda like the guy.
Hey, another round. Max is buying.
He had a great set of stories.
And they also get treated right in later chapters. So let's get into Act 2.
Cheers.
Well, I don't look like I go to Shakespeare or something?
Act 2. This act is insane. Plot twists, incredible set pieces, terrific well thought out themes, and questions about rich versus the poor. Chapter 6 is a banger. 1 minute you're having a chill chat, and the next the entire building is being attacked, eventually burning down. Rodrigo has been killed on Max's watch, and now his only choice is to run from the building. The gameplay in this chapter is at its best for close quarters combat. The physics engine truly shines when glass starts shattering all around you and splinters of wood started flying all over the place because of that one-man killing machine. You tear through enemies like it's nothing, escaping explosion after explosion with Max spitting out quotes left, right and centre. Max escapes and decides it's time to start again, to move on as best he could, to ditch the bad habits and return to form. Max Payne is dead. Long live Max Payne.
Well, it wasn't perfect.
Chapter 7 is more story focused, an unravelling of events leading up to where Max Payne is now. Failing Rodrigo, the only thing left for Max to do is to save his wife. Unfortunately, things don't go to plan. You get to her only to find Marcelo and her sister there, and you fail again. Truly a great chapter, running up a favela, desperately trying to save a woman he failed, dealing with countless goons along the way. A classic game scenario, and I loved it. Chapter 8 is another flashback with Max and Passos, providing one of the most chilling pieces of music I've ever heard. Hearing what I'm assuming is supposed to be Max's dead child is truly haunting and had some of Heath's best work in it. I love their soundtrack, and this is my second favourite track of the entire soundtrack. Not much else to say about this chapter, as it just provides more backstory for Passos, if anything. Chapter 9 is an onslaught to the senses, explosion after explosion, non-stop, and it's great. The death of Marcelo really sets the stakes up for Act 3, while his death wasn't particularly done well. It was done well enough to make me think any character could bite the bullet at any moment. Chapter 10 is pretty meh until the final set piece with the bus comes into play. Now, that is awesome. It's then revealed Victor was behind all of this because he wanted money. This moment, while predictable, is really well done, and the voice acting in this scene is believable.
You know, I have no fucking clue anymore.
Act 2 is my second favourite act out of the 3. It is better than the first act, but definitely becomes a slog towards the end because it's mainly just there to connect the dots and reveal to the player what Act 3 is really about. It's great, don't get me wrong, I think this game is severely underrated, but it can show its age, which to some might not be a bad thing. Oh, by the way, if you've made it this far, maybe smash that like button and maybe even subscribe. It will really help the channel out. Act 3. Yeah, this act is incredible. Chapter 11. Max decides to go after Victor. He destroys the building of one of Victor's accomplices, destroying their cash flow. This chapter, while not having much story, has a lot of gameplay and is great fun. Thanks to its ultra-linearity of ascending a building, the pacing never stops. The stakes are heightened and there are more enemies on screen than ever before. Chapter 12 slows down significantly. Max gets into a police station in an attempt to find Victor. He does, but fails to take him out and ends up getting the guy who killed Rodrigo, which is good enough. A great chapter full of action with less set-piece-like moments and more player-created memorable moments. One thing I noticed about playing the game through again is that Max Payne 3 is only as fun as you allow it to be. Chapter 13, the final chapter, is a combination of every chapter in the game and has some of the best moments in the entire game, combined with my favourite theme in the entire game. You blow up planes, cars and people, all with a final adrenaline push to finally avenge Rodrigo and finally let Max move on with his life. The epilogue is a great conclusion to the story, and if there is no Max Payne 4, I would be happy with the conclusion we got. Yeah, this game is another classic. Everything for me apart from 1 or 2 chapters work, and I'm a sucker for story-focused games. This is probably my favourite Rockstar game because it just cuts all the fluff from their open world games and makes what usually would be a 20-hour pretty good experience to an 8-hour extravaganza of greatness. The gameplay is the best of any Rockstar game to this day, and the story, while much more grounded compared to games like GTA 5, was satisfying all the way to the end, and I love the much more mature writing from Max Payne 3 rather than the jokey, overly comedic GTA 5. Max Payne 3 is a certified classic. Thank you for watching.